were the guards super against any kind of sexual acts, or did they not care too much? We found out there was a guard that was totally against it and all that, but we found out he was having sex with an inmate. Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a lot of questions on this. Sex in prison. Ask me anything about sex in prison, and I'm gonna answer them truthfully and above board like I always do. Before I get started, check out the sponsorship. This video is sponsored by Spades Royale, a free-to-play friendly spades game that you can play anywhere at any time with live video. Spades Royale is so cool, man. I used to play spades in the joint all the time. Everybody plays spades, man. You slamming cards, you having fun. You can see your players. You play live. I can see the dude's reaction. Man, I never found a game like this. It's fun, exciting, and it's unique. It's spades, man, but you can play with other people. I don't have people around my house to play spades, but I can play online. If you're not familiar with spades, man, it's an online game, 2 against 2. And there's always people to play online. That's what's cool. You each get 13 cards. There's 26 cards per team, 52 cards. And then you have to make trump. Trump is spades. Now you gotta figure out how many bids you can make. This game is cool. It's got strategy. You and your partner gotta figure out how many you can make. And when you make them, you gotta do it together, man. There's some strategy involved. You gotta be smart in this game. What's really cool about this game, you can actually make your own avatar. You go online, you'll see mine, the bald head guy. That's what I make, the guy with the goatee. Man, good luck, and you might see me on this game. This is one of the games you can look for me. And if I'm playing, I'm gonna get my partner, we're gonna slam you. Trust me, I'm vocal on this game. I don't know what you're waiting for, man. Click the link in the description below, download the app for free, and get 1,000 free coins. You can't beat it. Check it out. I always get questions about sex in prison because you always hear about stuff on the news, or you hear about stuff in, with friends, or you hear about movies and that kind of shit. Well, you're gonna get the real deal since I was in so many different prisons, and I will let you know. So let's go to the first question. I have 2 questions, this one person says. Are conjugal visits real? Also, have COs ever overstepped their boundaries or gotten involved with an inmate's conjugal visit? I can't answer that question. It's a good question, but the federal system has no conjugal visits. It's no such thing in the federal prison system in the United States. There's no conjugal visits. Do I believe there should be? Absolutely. I think it's well, kind of inhumane what they do, and then they wonder why there is rampant sex in prison between inmates or whatever's going on, and rapes and whatever. But obviously, rapes, I always tell you, is about violence. But even the sexual part of everything, and no, we don't have conjugal visits in the federal system, so I can't answer that about the guards also get involved with a person's conjugal visit. I would think not, but you never know, and that I'll have to leave to somebody from a state system that does have conjugal visits. The federal government has 0 conjugal visits. Second question, how would people have sex in prison without getting caught by the guards or other prisoners? Well, obviously there's a number of ways. Yes, people do get caught. People do know what's going on. Nobody says any. Guards pretty much don't give a fuck. Obviously, it's not being done out in the open. It's in this person's cell. Cellies, it could be, again, I've been to a marriage in prison. I know that sounds weird, but I've been literally to a marriage in prison. So, I mean, I've seen some crazy shit. Of course, it wasn't an official marriage, but it was like that. I mean, we had cake, and it was just crazy. I mean, but getting caught, I don't think, if you got caught physically, if a guard caught you having sex with someone in prison, you're both going to the hole. Again, I don't think that's right, but obviously they have to make sure it's a consensual sex, obviously. But sex is not legal in prison, just to let you know that as well. Does it go on all the time? Absolutely. Is it legal? No. I think the system knows that, and as long as it's not a forcible or a rape or something of that nature, it's hard to stop or impossible to stop. So they do get caught. Prisoners don't give a shit. They stay out of their people's business, especially in a penitentiary. Don't get into somebody's business. You get into somebody's business and they don't like it, you're fucking in trouble. Because I'll tell you what, a person who has sex, a gay person, if you want to call them, I don't even know if they're gay or whatever you want to call it. I used to call them punks, but I think that's a little bit derogatory, and I'm not going to go there anymore. I've seen some of those people get so fucking, do some fucking crazy shit to a person. I watched one guy take a bucket, put water in it, put olive oil and a Snicker bar in it, boil it, and throw it into another guy's face. That was a gay guy or a punk. I have to just say what they're called. And it melted the guy's face. The screams were horrendous, and that's one of the things I talk about. I should have talked about it on some of the most brutal things I saw, but that's definitely one of them. And the screams give you chills too. So there's so many more that I missed that I was actually talking about the other day, but I think I was a little fucking, a little bit, bad memories about that video. But let's keep going on this video. Did you ever walk in on people having sex? I'm assuming that what it means. And yes, I didn't walk in. Well, I did. I actually did. And it was their fault because normally, if somebody's in your, let's say you have a cellie and he's, whatever he's doing, he's going to put up his towel. Like, we had a window. And when you use the bathroom, whatever you do, you put up a towel and you close the door so the towel holds over the window. Obviously, if you can even have sex, you have a guy on the railing that's going to watch for you. And, in case a guard comes by, because I've been on the shitter and a guard opened the fucking door on me and the towel falls and the jerk off's looking at me shit and then he closes the door. Like, what the fuck you doing, asshole? Obviously they want to see if somebody's in there doing something and they catch them, which is, most didn't do that, but they had asshole guards in every prison you're in. But in this case, I walked in because he didn't have anything up. And it was my cell. And I walk in and, whoa, and I just turn around and leave. I mean, it's nothing. So yes, I did walk in on people, on a person. One time that happened. And nothing was said. I even told him after, I said, man, what the fuck? Don't put up the towel, motherfucker. Let me know you're in there doing it, and then I won't come up for an hour or a half hour, whatever the fuck. But don't do that. Next question. Are there ever female guards or outsiders that male prisoners secretly have business with? Well, I don't know about outsiders, no. I mean, they do have it in the visiting room, and I actually covered for people in the visiting room, and I'll tell you how that goes on. But yes, I actually even covered for a guy who we knew was having sex with a girl who worked in the education department, a lady, an outsider. Obviously, she's administrative staff, she wasn't a guard, but they used to have sex, and I would cover the door. So if anybody was coming in, I would make, certain noises and they'd be in the back and they'd be getting it on in there. So that's quite common, whether it's a guard, whether it's a administrative staff, whether it's a nurse or somebody in the medical department. I've heard and know of people who have done that, actually done that. I have not done that, but I do know of people who have done that. And so that's kind of, a common. Oh, outsiders, no. I mean like outsiders in the prison. Now in the visiting room, let me go to the visiting room. I know a guy who got a girl pregnant behind the vending machines. They literally snuck behind the vending machines and got a quickie in there, in behind the vending machines. Also, when I was in Jessup, if you got to the visiting room at a certain time and it was a really good guard who was running the visiting room, he kind of knew what was going on out on the yard. I say the yard. In the visiting room, you have an outside area with tables, and it's outside so people could smoke back then, actually. But it was outside there, and they have fresh air, and then they have the inside area with the vending machines. Well, early in the morning, when the first 2-3 visits come, or it's off day, like a Tuesday or whatever, Wednesday they did it, I remember we had a great guard in there, and I won't mention his name, I won't front him, and he would turn away. He knew what we were doing, and we'd cover for each other out there, and you'd see a guy bend a girl over the table and fucking fuck her. I've seen that many, many, many times. So yes, that's how people get it on in prison, and it's pretty common there. And that's what you mean. Now, as far as bringing a girl or a prostitute or somebody into the prison, no, I've never seen that or even heard of that. But staff runs enough of that. Let's get a segment on STDs in prison. They're there. They happen. And you hear about them. And if you have something wrong, if you have a STD and you get an STD, you literally go to medical and whatever happens, happens. Now, obviously, you're going to go to the hole. They're going to know you had sex. They're going to try to get it out of you who you had sex with and everything else. But as far as actually, getting any kind of medical issue, cause of an STD in prison, yes, and I have heard of it. So, I mean, kind of weird though, but yes, I have heard. And it's not an STD from a guy, you know. It wasn't like an STD. I'll go into that in a little bit either. Is it true that the sagging of pants is an indicator the guy is available? No. Never heard of it. Never saw it. I mean, I saw the saggy pants. I saw everything. You know, you hear all the stuff in movies. Oh, they take the stuff out of the pocket and they can make a guy hold that. I never saw that, so I think that's bullshit. I was in enough prisons, at least in our level of prisons, maximum securities, medium securities. I've never seen a low or a camp, of course, because I've never been there. So I don't know if that is true either, and I doubt it very seriously. That was just a trend people were doing back in the day. Not a prison the staff will fucking get your ass and pants up. They won't let that happen. I mean, if they see that, they're going to tell you get your fucking pants up, and they'll put you in a hole for that. I mean, they ain't fucking around with that. They will put you in a hole. And if they don't like something, they are, you know, that's what they'll do. That's no question about that. This one person says, Larry, I don't know if I want to hear about what sex you had in prison. But he says, I knew someone that was locked up in United States Penitentiary, Atlanta, back in the early 2000s, which is, I left there then. He told me some of the female COs would sell sex. Any truth to that? Absolutely. Absolutely happens. And people will pay for it, and they do it. They are human beings, and people are human beings. So I've seen that. I know it has happened. I even know the girl guards that did it. In fact, I know of a male guard that did it. So yes, that does happen, and it is, I won't say common, but I would bet at least in 8 out of 10 prisons, I'm sure it's going on, maybe all 10, I don't know. Human beings are human beings. Listen, people like sex, whether it's a girl or a guy, whether it's an inmate or a guard or somebody from the street or from inside. Sex is wanted by everybody, and it's just going to happen. So it's something that you're not going to say, oh, wow, you know, why would they do that? Well, you know, it's not. First of all, they don't make much money. They can make more money selling their pussy than they can do anything else, even bringing in dope or anything like that. Now, of course, if they got, you know, caught and everything else, they can get in more trouble than the inmate because they're a person of power. So the inmate's not going to be charged, pretty much. It's the guard that's going to be charged because that's also under rape. It's called the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA. And guard, you know, obviously that's why sex is not legal in prison, especially between a guard and an inmate, because the guard is in a position of power. And if you have a person who's in a position of power, it's hard for a person to say no. You got a girl who's a power over you, and she goes, come here, I want you, come in the back room, or come wherever you're gonna go. In between the offices is where most things happen. And sure enough, I mean, what you say no, and then you fear that she's gonna fucking harass you, do something, tell on you. So, you know, that can get really dicey, if you wanna call it that. But it does happen. Very good question. After prisoners who were together in prison get out, do they still have that relationship? Depends, and it depends how deep. I don't think per se in that kind. You know, there's an old saying we used to have, whatever goes on in prison stays in prison. And I think that's somewhat true. So I've never heard of somebody having a relationship, and I know people who have relationships in prison, and I've never heard them having that same relationship outside. Whether they've had a relationship again with a person or a guy or whatever it was, I've seen that, but I've not seen where it was that those two people got out and waited or whatever had happened. I just haven't seen it. I'm not sure. And I'm sure it probably has happened, but I don't think it's too common. Most people live different places, live apart, things happen. A lot of people who have that too also have life sentences, or one will have a life sentence. And obviously I've seen guys get, you know, kind of, I hate to say broke or very sad, very down when their lover leaves. I mean, it happens a lot. And, you know, you stay away from the person, you know. Listen, again, like I said to people, you don't judge people in prison. You don't judge people anywhere. How's that? But in prison especially, you might get killed for fucking judging somebody. And trust me, that can happen. Next question. How do people prevent the spread of HIV in prison with all the rape and tattooing in prison? You would think the numbers would be on the rise. HIV is high in prison, to be honest. And it's obviously some sex, tattooing, but more from IV heroin use. You know, when they shoot heroin, and I watched them, I never shot heroin. When they shoot heroin, they'll push it in, and they actually take the blood, they get the blood back in the tube with the dope, and they put it in. Now they had blood and everything, and now they give that needle to a friend or somebody, and somebody has a HIV or hepatitis. Hepatitis is very, very rampant in prison as well. HIV is as well. You know, there was even talk about them giving condoms out in prison, believe it or not. But I don't even know if they'd be used. And how do you tell a fucking guy who's got a life sentence? He's done. He's never ever getting out. Oh, you might get HIV. You probably don't give a fuck. Probably don't care if he dies. I think that's a kind of question that's answered in that way. It is. And you know, like I said, I've never had a disease, any disease in my life. I never even had the crabs in my life. You know, and I was in the military and in prison and everywhere, and I've never had any STD, and as you can see, I'm knocking wood on that. So I think that's pretty, you know, important. Did any prisoners assault guards in that way? I've never seen that. I did hear about a guard being raped during the riots in prison system when the Cubans took over Atlanta in, I think, 87 or 86 or 87. I wasn't there, of course, and but I did hear about that, and I heard that from a guy who was a prisoner. He wasn't raped, but I did hear about that. But no, I've never heard of it just happen, somebody get mad, just assault and rape a guard. I've never heard. I've seen guards get beaten. I've seen stuff like that. I've seen guards get stabbed. But I've never seen them get assaulted, raped, or anything of that nature. I just never seen it, never even heard of it, except for the one time when a takeover. Do they sneak women into the prisons? No, I've never seen that. Now, I'm not going to say, and I did hear that in camps, it's a prison camp. Again, there's no fences. They can come and go as they please, but they can't. But they're threatened with. I know in Atlanta, they threaten, or even Pensacola or all the other camps, they told them, if you leave this property and you get caught, you are going to the United States Penitentiary, Atlanta. Now, you got a guy who's a doctor or some fucking accountant who goes and gets 15 months in prison. And he leaves that place, and he knows how bad that other fucking big prison is. Atlanta, USP Atlanta, we were known as the worst prison. So, what do you think he's going to do? You think he's gonna fucking go off that place? No way. And if he does, he's a moron. I totally heard about from people I know who were in camps that they had women who'd meet certain spots at the place and get blowjobs or fuck or whatever they do. So totally on a minimum, camp, that we call them a camp status. Even a low has fences. Anything with security like they have for inmates other than a camp, no. They're not going to bring them in. That's not happening. Obviously, on the camp side, that's a whole different animal. Do most men get in gay relationships in prison? No. No, they don't. There is a percentage, of course. And again, we used to say what goes on in prison stays in prison. I never looked at anybody differently or any way, of course. Not only do I don't judge on the outside, I never judged on the inside. But no, not most people get in gay relationships, no. So it's not most people. There are some in every prison, and that's just the way it is. You have people in prison, who literally dress up like a woman. I had a person called Goldie who used to clean my cell and do my laundry, and ugly as fucking sin, but used to do the fucking lips and fucking blush and fucking used to take a shirt, you put it like this, like a girl, and they'd put, and it was unbelievable, and act just like a girl. Actually, I paid her $5 a week for laundry, $5 a week for cleaning my cell. I'll tell you what, Goldie was a convict, and we say convict because you fuck that person the wrong way, and I mean fuck her over for money or whatever, that fucker will stab you. That fucker, don't listen, don't get twisted, man. A person, just because they having gay sex, that motherfucker will fuck you up. And you better have the respect you have for other people. So don't think you can just walk all over them. Fuck no, they'll fuck you up. And don't think for a second they won't. My questions are, do the female guards actually have sex with inmates, and how often do people get raped in prison? Again, yes, the female guards do, or not all of them, of course, and there's always one or two or whatever it is. As far as how often people don't get raped that often. you hear, oh, you're gonna go to prison and get raped. No. How you're handled and how things can happen is brutal. And a real rape is real brutal. It's something that I've heard the sounds, and it's really, really bad. Now, how often are people coerced into sex? That might happen more. But even that, there has to be usually two willing partners. And no, fuck you, because again, the other person you think might want it and they try to think they can rape. Yes, there's dominating people, but there's people who fucking flip out and they'll fucking kill you. So trust me, it's not as often or as much as you see on TV. Rape does happen, totally. I know a friend that I'm gonna have on this show did 28 years in prison. Man, God bless him. He did 28 years and he was found innocent, didn't do the crime. Went to prison as a 21-year-old, good-looking blonde kid. He ended up being gang raped his first day in Florida State Prison. Can trans women get power in prison through sex, depending on who they're giving it to, or are they treated as punks regardless? Yeah, they can get power. When I was in Atlanta, we had a punk, I'm going to call that now. Again, I don't like the derogatory meaning of it, but we had one called the Black Widow. That motherfucker killed fucking two lovers. So, I guess that's a power, but the sex power. And I'll tell you what, I mean this. If you saw that person from behind, I remember seeing that person from behind. I did so many, when I first saw the person, I did like, is that a girl? The hair nice, the way the body was. Even when they turned around, you could almost not tell. You could then. But, it was funny, too, because at like 5 or 6, 7 at night, they got a shadow from shave. And that we all used to laugh at. But, oh, man, from behind, you could not tell. And do they have power? In their own way. It depends on who they're fucking and what's going on. And people try to be cool. Then you have guys, oh, that's a fucking asshole. But they won't say anything because they understand the fucking system and they understand why are you going to cause trouble. Why do you want to cause trouble for yourself? No. Not in the prisons I was in. They had fucking badass people, man. And these people will fucking cut your head off. Don't get twisted about that. What is the most bizarre sex-related thing you saw in prison? I have to think it was, I don't know if it's considered sex related. It was the marriage. I still remember everything about it to this day. So I don't know if that's bizarre or, it wasn't the sex part of it because I don't know that part of it. I know they had sex, obviously. So as far as the person with, bizarre sex itself, I haven't seen anybody upside down in this or, doing 69s. I don't know. I haven't seen anything crazy like that. Again, who the fuck knows when that door's closed? Trust me, who the fuck knows? All right, here's a good question, everybody. Next question. What happens if someone gets pregnant? Obviously, I'm assuming you're meaning like a female staff from the education department or a female staff from the medical department. I don't know. I do know of wives who've got pregnant or girlfriends who've got pregnant, again, through the visiting room or something like that. But no, I didn't know anybody who got actual pregnant. What happens if they did? Obviously, there's a father involved and he's the father. And if that's what it is, obviously, what happens is, though, they're going to put you in a hole and do an investigation. Probably transfer you. Totally going to transfer you. And they're going to be assholes about it. They're going to transfer your ass far away. Sex toys in prison. Homemade or smuggled in? Yes, I made them. I used them. It's called a Fefe, F-E-F-E. Wonder if I can Google it, but I'm not even gonna try. I know what it is. I made them. I've never seen sex toys like a vibrating pussy or a dildo or something of that nature. No, Fefe. They're homemade and they're pretty good. And I was gonna make one here, and I might in another video. I don't know if you even can on YouTube, but yes, you'd see that as well. Were the guards super against any kind of sexual acts, or did they not care too much? Depending on the person. You'd get some guards who, yes, they were totally against it, and you'd get guards who don't give a fuck. We found out there was a guard that was totally against it and all that, but we found out he was fucking having sex with an inmate in between the units, and you know, we heard all about that. We knew about it, so we knew he was playing a game and he was doing it for himself or the staff or whatever. And he was, you know, the guard was blowing the inmate every time or getting fucked by the inmate a lot in between, and they'd have to, you know, he'd take him out and go into the middle of the two units on the night shift, and as he's, you know, I'm taking him out to clean the fucking middle offices, and fucking, you know, that's what they did, and it happened quite often, and we knew that. So some obviously don't like it or whatever, and they have some fucking religious belief if that's what it is. Or some, you know, just don't give a fuck. Most don't give a fuck. You know, they're there to do their time, the good ones. They just don't give a fuck. But that's about it, everybody. I hope I answered most of your questions on sex in prison. Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe out there. Make good choices. Just don't go to prison. There's nothing. When I hear a gay person, friend of mine, say, oh, it must be good in prison, Larry, because there's gay people, you know, you got all those guys. No, don't ever believe for a second it's good in there for anybody in any sexual preference. Period. It's not. Anyway, everybody, I hope you liked the video. Please stay safe, make some good choices, and I'll see you next time.